Hello, my name's Tim and welcome back to Blamethedicewargaming. Today we have got a unboxing of a very special addition to the Star Wars Legion game. It is the Vitalassets upgrade pack, which comes with an absolute ton of stuff, a load of new cards, a load of new objectives, a load of new deployments. This is going to fundamentally change the way we play Legion, if you buy this of course, but you should. That's me. That's spoiler alert. Anyway, stick around. We're going to get this box open, and we can take a look at the cards, take a look at what it looks like when it's first unboxed, and also look at what it looks like when it's put together. This is going to change Legion, and I'm genuinely very, very excited for how this is going to be received on the tabletop. See you in a second. So this is your Vitalassets expansion. Big box with lots in it by the looks of it. Let's tear into this bad boy. So first thing I'm noticing, and that's by sensation, is the amount of plastic that's in here. There is no, there really is no shortage of stuff. So we've got a pile of plastic, some significantly chunky instructions, actually not as chunky as I thought they'd be, which is good because sometimes that can be problematic. A load of bases, some big ones as well, and an absolute ton of cards. This is going to change the game, but let's have a look at the model. I'm not going to spend too much time showing you these because they seem to be geometric shapes, and I don't think there's anything to be really appreciated by saying, oh, look how nice these are. I'm quite happy to do that when it comes to your regular miniatures, but I think a lot of this stuff, because it's all the same, loses a degree of interest, maybe. You know, certainly there's nothing that you wouldn't appreciate more by seeing them together. I think probably the exceptions are your hostage. There is some, I'm going to say, exquisite detail. I mean, look at that along this guy here. The kind of pleats and the folds and the detail within the kind of, I'm going to say dress. I don't know how else to describe it. And this one looks so super fine. So a quick look at the faces. Get them nice and close. Oh, that's incredible. Look at that. That's really something. And where's the rebel? There we go. I say rebel, but you know, that's what I'm thinking when I see it. Really excellent stuff. Right, we'll get these out the sprues and see what they look like. So here we have one of our models to be a hostage. Looks like royalty of some kind, or a senator, or some kind of ambassador for a planet. But either way, really nice model, lots of detail in the costume, so I think you're going to be able to do whatever you really want to there. The face looks very detailed, looks very nice. It's really nice to see a civilian. It's nice to see somebody who's not in military uniform. This is going to give us quite a bit of something to play with. And next up we have someone much more recognisable. He kind of looks like your Viceroy from the Trade Federation, or from the banking clans. Nice bit of kit, simplistic model. Should be quite easy to paint. The face has a lot of nice detail in it. You can really appreciate that. And the clothing, like the ridges on the arms and the detail along the cloak, are really, really nice. So yeah, another excellent model that should give people who like to be creative a lot of ways to express themselves. Really nice looking bit of kit, this. Vitalassets also came with 2 anti-gravity lifts. Here they are assembled. Fairly straightforward. They were just 2 pieces to put together. There's the top and the bottom half, and then there's a piece you can see there in the middle, which is just to give them to hover, and then they're sitting on your standard medium-sized base. Straightforward but nice. They certainly look like what we would have seen in, I think particularly Rebels had a lot of these in, because that was shot around less military outposts and more maybe logistical quarters, I think, for supplying the occupying force of Lothal. Nice bit of kit. Vitalassets also came with no shortage of high explosives, these sea mine looking units. Are really nice up close. They've got some nice detail. You've got like an open hatch there, and you've got a computer console. Now, actually, you could have used that console to cover that up, so you could have had a bit of variance. I quite liked the idea of that being open on all of them, so all of mine have been done the same. But they've all got these nice kind of prongs around the side, where it looks like if anything comes into contact with it, it's going to detonate. Really has the feel for a lying in wait kind of mine, a la ones you'd find in the British Channel still. Really nice. Look forward to painting this up. Though I admit I'll probably do something quite simple if I'm honest with you. I think this is going to be better understated than overstated. And lastly, the Vitalassets pack came with some new crates. So when you are out there gathering your munitions, when you are out there scrambling around hoping to get the new upgrade you're looking for that mission, this is what you're going to be fighting for. This ought to be very familiar to any of us who've watched Clone Wars, Rebels, etc., etc. And these look very much like what you see. Some of them are really nicely detailed. That first one I shown you was very nice, very big, very broad, and lots of kind of potential to look like some heavy duty equipment. This looks a little bit more basic, a bit more military standard, a bit disappointing in the flesh. Really, it doesn't really have much to it. This one is straightforward and simple, but I like it. It's got the right level of detail. I think that longer one just seemed to lack a little bit of something. All of these things are very simple to put together, and your last ones are these, which are they look to me like ammo crates. You've got a stack of 3. They have a lid that you can put on, so if you're a good modelist or hobbyer, you can probably have that lid off and try to fill them, or at least have the top one looking like it was full of rifles or grenades or something cool. I'm not one of those guys, so I didn't. But there you go. We've got 6 tokens, all going to make for an exciting and interesting way of playing the game. So we have 3 new deployment cards, 3 new condition cards, and 3 new objective cards. We're going to take a look at them in turn. So we'll start with Danger Close. This one has no special rules attached to it, but does have a very unique deployment zone in that it virtually wraps around the entire battlefield, and the red and the blue players' unique deployment zone gives them a rather large U. So you just think about where you could be deploying. Let's just focus on as if we were deploying at the top here. You are going to be within range 3 almost of the enemy if they're deploying on their side here. So there's not a lot here. This appears to be range 4 based on the numbers there. So even if you're there and you're here, you're going to be very much on the side of being able to get some kind of sniper fire. So it seems to me that Danger Close is the appropriate name, because it seems like early on there could be some significant combat going forwards. And because of the way it's going to be driving forwards, I think that you could end up facing wave upon wave of enemy as they come through. Could be fun though. Look forward to trying this one. Hemmed In, on the other hand, has a very different kind of dynamic to it. We've got 3 unequal deployment zones. The red ones appear to be equal to themselves, but the blue one is a odd fit there, and you really will be hemmed in. You will be facing 2 forces coming at you. Now, interestingly, there's no special text indicating that you must be deployed on both places there as a red player, so you might feel the need to just deploy wholeheartedly in one deployment zone versus the other. But either way, if you are playing an army, a gun line, you could find yourselves quite literally hemmed in from either angle if you're the blue player. And if you're the blue player, generally speaking, you're going to struggle to place yourself somewhere out of cover. So that one could be very interesting. And what is interesting is, as the blue player, you normally vie for the positions you want. So this one could be quite tricky. I'm not sure if it's going to be one I'd particularly want to be doing if I was facing something with a lot of power, unless I was setting up with the intention of getting behind heavy cover and just launching volley after volley against the enemy as they were forced to advance to me. But it could be an interesting one, particularly as we start to explore more of the mission cards. And now for rollout. Now this one I'm really keen about, and it's not necessarily the deployment zones themselves. They're not that different in the grand scheme of things. I don't think it's going to add a massive amount of change to the way we're going to be playing the game. It is nice to have some variance, so I'm not complaining, so I'm quite pleased with that. However, what I really like about this one is the special text. So during the deployment phase, each vehicle may deploy within range 1 of a friendly deployment zone. So that's going to mean that your vehicles, I'm going to try to estimate this, could deploy in essentially that kind of space all the way there. And if your vehicles are here, there could be enemy vehicles essentially here along this line and right up to that edge. So vehicles, if you've got some, could find themselves slugging it out early on, or vehicles, if you've got some, could find themselves getting into a very good position very early on. I'm quite excited about this one. I think this is one I'll be trying to play test rather than just see how it comes up. I think I will select this one intentionally and give it a go on the tabletop. So we'll start with supply drop. So, supply drop. In the setup stage, prepare the supply deck, starting with the blue player. Players alternate placing condition tokens face down on the battlefield until 6 tokens have been placed. Each token must be placed beyond range 1 of each deployment zone and beyond range 1 of any other condition token. Non-creature troopers gain resupply, which is a free action. Choose a condition token in base contact with your unit leader and flip it face up if able. Otherwise, remove it. Then draw 2 supply cards, equip 1 and shuffle 1 into the supply deck. So I think before we move on, let's check out these supply cards. So these are supply cards. We're going to go through each one of them in turn, but there are 8 different supply cards and there's 2 of each. There's 16. So there's a good chance when you go fishing for 2 cards, when you flip that face up token, there's a chance you're going to get something very, very interesting. Let's go through them in turn. First off, we have Back to Capsules, which gives you the free action of Treat 1, Capacity 1. So this works the same way as your healing droids does, but this gives it to any unit. And just to remind you, that's place 1 wound token on this card to remove 1 wound or poison token from, or restore 1 mini to a friendly non-droid trooper at range 1 in line of sight. So in essence, you can use this to raise the dead, so to speak, to give a health back to a wounded unit, or to remove a poison from any unit. Next up we have the Arc Welder. This is virtually the same as the Back to Capsules, but in this case you gain Repair 1, Capacity 1. So you would have a wound token on this card, and that will enable you to restore a wound to a wounded vehicle, or what I really like is restore a wounded droid, which is great to the tabletop, so you get to raise the dead of the droids, or remove a damage token. So if you were unlucky enough to hit your threshold and have a vehicle malfunction, a weapon malfunction rather, or something critical like that, this repair 1 can take that back off and bring you back to as if it never happened. As we move along, we move into a couple of upgrades which require you to recover them when they've spent. As you can see in the position scopes, for example, they have the triangle there on the arrow to indicate that when it's spent, you have to flip it to say that it has been used, and you can recover to get it back. So precision scopes is when performing a ranged attack during the roll attack dice step, gain 1 aim token, which is a nice thing to have as a free action. Excellent. Next up, we've got the field scanner, which whilst defending against a ranged attack, during the applied dodge and cover steps, gain 1 dodge token. So this is analogous with the precision scopes. It's the same kind of thing, but in this case you're going to get the dodge token, but once you have used this card, you will flip it, but it can be recovered to get it back. Next up, we have got exhaustible weapons. So that cross there is a new rule set for this for these cards, which means when it's used, it is gone. There's no recovering this. And the first one is targeting rangefinder. Really nice bit of artwork there, and I think we've all seen that rangefinder on either some of our minis or just when we've been watching the films or series. So, when performing a ranged attack during the roll attack dice step, you may gain marksman, which is while you're attacking, you can spend an aim token to improve your attack die result, which we've talked about this in previous videos, but just a reminder, that could take a blank to a surge to a hit, and a hit to a crit. You've just got to spend that aim token to get it. Next up, we've got Camouflage, another exhaustible card. When you are declared as a defender against a ranged attack, until the end of this round, you gain low profile. And just a reminder, that means if you're in light cover rather, that converts it to heavy cover, which could be very, very clutch if you're trying to survive an extra round. And as a free action, excellent. Next up is the Hollow Projector. Some really nice art on this. It looks like we've got Commander Cody taking Order 66 from the Emperor, and this card is during the issue order steps of the command phase. issue an order to yourself or another friendly unit at range 1. Quite nice. That is akin to the HQ uplink, but this gives not only you the option, but also another unit at range 1. I think that's really good, and as a free action that you could just pick up on the battlefield, it's exceptional. Next up, you've got your grapnel harpoon. We remember seeing Luke using this in the Empire Strikes Back, and there he is doing his thing. And this is a free action. Until the end of your activation, you gain scale, which is you ignore the effects of difficult terrain and do not suffer wounds whilst clambering. So that is a combination of grappling hooks and environmental gear. After you perform a move action, you may perform a free clamber. So that's excellent. So essentially, if you move to a building and you end your first action in base contact with a building, this card is going to let you go up that as long as it's range 1, which is excellent. So that means at the top of that you can then move again or shoot or dodge or something. So essentially, not only does this give you effectively 2 upgrade cards in one, it also gives you a free move action. I really like that. So that is supply drop. These are the 6 tokens that you can use instead of having to use an objective token as such. You can use your nice new boxes that come with the kit, which I think anyone would want to do because it looks so much nicer on the tabletop. Next up, we've got fortified positions. This one isn't particularly different to ones we've seen when the skirmish was announced. So during the setup, starting with the blue player, players alternate placing barricades along the battlefield until 8 barricades have been placed. When a player places a barricade, it must be placed inside their deployment zone or within range 1 to 2 of their deployment zone. Each barricade must be placed horizontally, so that means no one places it on its end if you are that kind of player. And another one taken straight from the skirmish format. This is War Weary. When checking whether a unit is panicked, the range at which a unit can use a friendly commander's courage instead of his own is reduced by 2 to a minimum of 1. So let's be honest, if we thought that hostile environment was bad for keeping suppression, this one's going to be that much worse, because instead of being able to rely upon your range 3 or 4 bubble from your decent commander, you're now going to have it reduced to 2. That's not a great deal of anything. So if you're playing a mission where you're particularly spread out, that's going to really hurt if you've got one commander. Though with this, we might see an increase of units taking the officer upgrade, because that does give the units themselves a courage value of 2. So maybe that might increase and change the way we're fielding units on the table, which is always a good thing. And now we'll move on to the objective cards. Now, I thought the deployments and some of the conditions were interesting, but the objectives are going to be where it gets really hot. So let's start with payload. So setup. Starting with the blue player, each player places a bomb cart within their deployment zone. Each player controls the bomb cart that they place. Then, starting with the blue player, each player places a piece of terrain by placing one objective token matching their opponent's colour on that terrain piece. Each chosen terrain piece cannot be within the deployment zone, but can overlap a deployment zone. At the end of the round, starting with the blue player, each player's bomb cart may pivot and then perform a 2-speed maneuver if there are more friendly unit leaders than enemy unit leaders at range 1. So, in brief, this sounds like you're going to be playing a tug of war to get your bomb cart across the table, and you're going to do so by having a increased number of units gathered around it to force it into the enemy zone. An interesting setup. I really like that. Plus, it could get a little bit silly when you've got your bomb cart and the opposing player's bomb cart on the table, and you're trying to shift resources so they don't get theirs into your area and you get yours into theirs. So, victory conditions. At the end of the game, each player gains 1 victory token if their bomb cart is in range 2 of the terrain piece marked with an objective token matching their colour. 2 victory tokens if it is in range 1 of that terrain piece, or 3 if it is in base contact with a terrain piece. This is going to be hectic as anything, and I can't wait to play that mission. And just so we're certain, these are your bomb carts, and as you see, they do have a notch base, which is the same size as your speeder bike. So those ones, when they start to move, are going to start to move at a good old pace. Should be a lot of fun. And now, hostage exchange. Setup. Each player chooses one trooper unit, or core unit rather, that they control. Then, starting with the blue player, each player places their opponent's chosen unit on, or as near as possible to, the centre of the battlefield and performs a 1-speed manoeuvre with that unit. Then, each player places a claimed objective token in base contact with the unit leader of their chosen unit and equips a hostage upgrade card to that unit. During round 1, units cannot use detonate keywords, thank goodness. All trooper units gain an action to claim. When a unit claims an objective token, it equips the hostage upgrade card. Interesting stuff. So let's have a quick look at the hostage cards, and then we'll come back to some of the details on this one. So here are our hostages. Both texts read the same, but in brief, you increase your courage by 1, always nice, and reduce your maximum speed by 1 to a minimum of 1. You cannot start a melee. During round 1, enemy units cannot start a melee with or attack you, and you gain immune enemy effects. Unequip this card if you do not have a claimed objective token. Excellent stuff, and I do like that they've put on immune enemy effects, because any kind of card, I think Force Choke is what came to my mind. It would be a little bit pointless if your hostage could just be snatched off the table without there being much of a contest. It would make things like that far too OP. So back to the card. Victory. At the end of the game, each player gains 1 victory token for each objective token that is claimed by the unit they control. Then each player gains 1 victory token for each objective token that is within their deployment zone and claimed by a unit they control. And then you're going to gain points for if you still have the hostage with your squad, and you'll gain additional points if that squad gets back into your deployment zone. So it's going to be another crazy one where everyone's going to go crazy running towards their hostage, trying to get them safe while simultaneously attacking the opposing player. Really interesting stuff. And once again, the rules reference using an objective token, but when you can have your 2 models which match the artwork on the cards, I have no idea why you would. And last but not least, bombing run. Setup. After the deploy unit steps, starting with the blue player, each player places 3 claimed objective tokens in base contact with a friendly unit leader that are within the player's deployment zones. Each unit cannot have more than 1 claimed objective token. Each trooper unit gains as an action claim. All units gain as a free action drop. Flip one of your claimed objective tokens to its unclaimed side. At the end of the activation phase, each player may detonate 1 unclaimed objective token that was flipped to its unclaimed side with the drop ability by a unit they control. Victory. After an objective token detonates inside or within range 1 of a player's deployment zone, the opponent gains 1 victory token. And also, just to make that a more interesting experience, that gives you a range 1 3 red dice attack with blast and suppressive, which converts some surge to crit. That is going to be mental. I cannot wait to do that. And I think we could start to see a lot of very fast vehicles, such as the Speeder, be equipped with that. Because I think if that was given an order token first off, you're going to struggle to stop that getting into your deployment zone with the fact it can do 3 range 3 moves to get across. I'm going to be doing that. I'm sure others have thought the same and are doing the same. And here are your bombs to go with that mission. Once again, it references being able to use a token, but I don't know why you would. These things look great, and I think they're going to be so much fun to get shifting across the table. Cannot wait. I'm thoroughly excited by what this offers. We've got 9 new cards to mix things up, which is going to be fantastic. Even if you just look at these ones on their own, if you think about something like Bombing Run played with fortified positions where you're playing as the blue player, so straight away I feel much more comfortable about taking that position with all the heavy cover I can give myself and the fact that I can really control the situation. That could be an excellent game and a very difficult one. Other fun scenarios that could just be thrown together just for having fun whilst we get used to this one could be the hostage exchange with War Weary playing Danger Close, where you are surrounded at all angles but are dealing with the issues of war weariness, where people are struggling to shed their suppression. People are struggling to deal with the fact that they've got a limited commander range whilst trying to get hostages back into their field or get them across the table, also attack the ones across the table. this is something I'm going to be trying out. Or lastly, running payroll load where you're trying to get the bombs across the table with supply drop, so you could be picking up all manner of weird and wonderful things to help you get it across. Could be so much fun. So that's it. That's your vital asset battlefield expansion for Legion. If I'm entirely honest with you, this is the most exciting update we've had for the game in the entire 2 years. It's going to fundamentally change every game we play going forward if you own this. I'm really excited about it. That's probably evident from how much I've gone on about the cards as I've gone through them. But the second we can get this on the table, the second we can start experimenting with the cards and see how they interact with troops and missions and tournaments, if you're that kind of player, this could shake things up beyond compare, and I can't wait to try it out. Guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, please like and subscribe. Go on to Blame the Dice website. And one thing you need to be aware of, and you really need to go to the Blame the Dice Facebook page for this, is there is a competition right now where we're offering a 40k battalion. Go and check it out. There's some things you need to do, the whole like, share, subscribe, what have you. However, it is an exceptional bit of value, so you really should go and check it out. Guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you across the tabletop real soon.